A very good evening to you. I'm Pearson Bowen. This is the CBC Evening News. The 300 workers from the drainage unit who were sent home in January have started to receive their outstanding monies. Union officials have told CBC the workers are being paid their severance and vacation monies that are due, noting that they started collecting their checks from the Treasury Department in Bridgetown today. Union officials believe the overall price tag to government is in the region of $1.5 to $2 million. The workers at the drainage unit were retrenched as part of government's cost-cutting measures to trim its fiscal deficit and to restore stability to government's fiscal affairs. Since then, government has also sent home hundreds of workers from other departments as part of its measures to reduce its expenditure and wages bill. Barbados has had 17 confirmed cases of tuberculosis over the last 5 years. That's according to the acting chief medical officer, Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, who says there are at least 5 suspected cases of the respiratory condition each year. She says the majority of the confirmed cases occurred in 2010, when 6 people had to be treated for the illness. There were 3 each in 2009 and 2011, respectively, 1 in 2012, and 4 cases in 2013.
The difference in this case is, as I said, it's a young person and they're at school. And at school you have 500-600 children in a school. So potentially that person could expose other children to the disease. So that is why we're taking so much precaution to make sure that the children are investigated.
Dr. Ferdinand also gave an update on Monday's rapid assessment at the affected school.
Well, we've checked yesterday, we checked 170 children, as I said, and some of them are fully immunized and are well. So there will not be any further investigation on them as such. Those who are not vaccinated, we will have to do what we call a MAN2 test. It's a small little test on the forearm here, where they inject a little bit of the antigen and they see what the reaction is. And if it is positive, then we will have to go further, like chest x-rays and other tests.
Regarding the teenager who has been confirmed with the respiratory illness, Dr. Ferdinand says there may be no need for hospitalization or quarantine.
Usually when the person is diagnosed, they are put on the treatment, and for a month or 2 we keep them at home, so that gives the time for the medication to work, and it also gives time for the patient to recover and recuperate, because it's a debilitating disease and the person is ill and gets tired, so they need to rest. So in that sense, yes, we will try to keep them at home. When I say at home, not going to work or not going to school, but resting and relaxing and taking their medication.
95 people will be on the breadline next Wednesday when the Maryllis Hotel closes its doors after 24 years in operation here. CBC understands that the property, owned by the Palm Beach Hotel Group, has been sold to the owners of the Bougainvillea Resort, headed by veteran hotelier Gordon Seal. A source indicates that workers were given their termination letters around 3 this afternoon and told by Chairman Leif Brandel that the property will be closed next Wednesday, June the 4th, refurbished and reopened under another name. The 144-room property is one of 3 under the Palm Beach brand. The former Alamanda was sold to the Harlequin Group out of the UK, while Sandy Bay is reportedly in the advanced stages of being sold to a group of investors. Workers are expected to collect their vacation pay next week and their severance in about 2 months. Another appeal tonight for Barbadians to stop indiscriminate burning. It's coming from the president of the Asthma Association of Barbados, Rosita Pollard. She says the excessive amount of smoke in the atmosphere is behind a dramatic increase in the number of people presenting at accident and emergency and other medical facilities seeking relief from their symptoms.
Barbadians have to understand that they're affecting asthmatics severely and they need to stop this bad practice. It is a very bad habit and is affecting a lot of people. The problem too in Barbados is the pollution from the cars. You know, there's so many cars on the road and nobody cleans their cars properly with the exhaust and everything. And that is also creating a problem. And then people are not cleaning their houses properly. You know, first of all, we have all these carpets and we have all these upholstered furniture and heavy drapes and things like that, which we need to get rid of, especially carpets in offices. And people in offices are also complaining about heavy perfumes that people are wearing, the heavy scents.
Ms. Pollard says asthmatics are also not using their inhalers correctly, and this is another major problem.
The adults that don't use it correctly, most of the children know how to use it. But I find that the adults are the ones who don't really know how to use it correctly.
A suggestion that networking is an art form all entrepreneurs should master. And the 15th International Academy of African Business Development Conference, now on at the UWI Cave campus, is the perfect opportunity for it. The suggestion comes from Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Investment and Development Corporation, Dr. Leroy McLean. He says the conference presents Barbados with a plank to build relationships between Africa and the diaspora, as well as between Africans in the diaspora in areas of culture, economy, trade and investments.
Our ability to develop and nurture business relationships is what can potentially make or break us in our effort to develop personally our business. Occasions such as this can go a long way. Business can be shared. Who knows? You may this evening end up meeting prospective employees, a mentor, or a business partner.
Mr. McLean, scope to develop trade between Barbados and Africa.
Trade between Barbados and Africa has remained fairly stagnant over the past 10 years, with imports from African countries registering between Barbados $4 million to $5 million annually. Exports to Africa from Barbados were slightly more uneven, ranging from a high of $1.2 million to a low of just over 500,000 Barbados dollars during that period. African imports in 2013 registered at Barbados $6.6 million, the highest in the last decade, comprised mainly of machinery and mechanical equipment, juices and non-alcoholic beverages, wood and wine.
As a prelude to the 2015 start of a decade for people of African descent, the Non-State Actors Reparations Task Force is hosting a major event to bring awareness to the issue of human rights. Head of the International Gathering for Peace and Human Rights, the Reverend Buddy Laria, says the Trident healing ceremony will be the first of its kind for the region. Reverend Laria said in light of global human rights atrocities, including the kidnapping of close to 200 schoolgirls to be sold into slavery, and the number of reported murders and violence locally and regionally, there is a need for restoration. He called on African traditional spiritual leaders and indigenous people, religious leaders from countries that experienced slavery and colonialism, to be involved.
If we can heal, then the work that needs to be done during the decade would be much easier. If we are still carrying the pain, the shame, the anger, the self-hatred, then the decade is going to be much more difficult.
Well, less than a year after battling a prolonged illness and a near-death experience, the greatest calypsonian which the world has ever seen arrived in Barbados this morning. Dr. Slinger Francisco, better known as the Mighty Sparrow, flew into Barbados shortly after 9 aboard a Caribbean Airlines flight.
The Mighty Sparrow was greeted at the Grantley Adams International Airport by Culture Minister Stephen Lashley, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry Ruth Blackman, close friend the Mighty Gabby, and the show's organizer Eleanor Rice. Though the Calypso master still has a very pronounced limp, well, and is
music. Sparrow is going to give you from